6 of the Making Stories podcast. I just realized that my tripod is slightly askew. Let me quickly fix that. Oops. Okay. That is better. Yay! I'm Hannah-Lisa, your host for today and always, and this is a podcast about knitting and all things sustainability in knitting, and I am so glad that you're here. We're back to our regular schedule, which means there is a new podcast episode every other week. Over the summer, I only recorded a podcast episode every month, but now, as the temperatures are not getting colder, because I'm recording this as we have 30 degrees again here in Berlin, but at some point we're gonna have fall, and I'm very excited about it. I am also really excited about this episode today because I have lots of really good things to talk about, and a lot of it is new, and I quite like that. Yes, I also like checking in about projects that you've seen before and sharing my progress on them, but there's just something really refreshing about getting to show you new things, which I have lots of today. So settle in, grab a cup of coffee, iced coffee or tea or water and your current work in progress, and spend the next half hour or so with me. We're gonna start by talking about my latest FO, what I'm wearing, which is my Piteraq top. This is a pattern by Solène Roux from Breeze, our second book. So way back when we first started out, we started making books and then transitioned into the magazine world. And this is from the second book. It's a sleeveless top, and I really like it. Okay, I'm wearing it tucked in, but I'm gonna take it out so you can see it. I've knit this quite oversized. I wanted to have a lot of positive ease, so you can see it's a little bit big at the shoulders, and also at the underarm here. There's a little bit of baggy fabric, but I actually don't mind. I'd much rather have something that's a little bit oversized than something that is too tight, to be honest. And the length is a little longer than I anticipated, so I think I could have made it a bit more cropped. But as I foresee me wearing this tucked in a lot of the time anyways, I don't mind that much. It's a really nice, mostly stockinette fabric, and then it has this really cool geometric lace panel running down one side of the body, which I really like. And it was super fun to knit. This entire thing was super fun to knit. So I know that the last time that I recorded, I think I was working on the body. And then surprisingly fast, it was time for me to split for the armholes. As I said, I think I could have knit the body a little bit shorter. But also my linen gauge, I'm going to talk about that in a second, but it grew quite a bit in blocking. So yeah, that's just what it is. I also did not try this on a single time. I just completely knit it without trying it on. Live dangerously, right? I did, however, compare the body length to the body length of my grassland tee. And it's about the same. So yeah, I think it's also just because I'm wearing really high-waisted shorts. So yeah. But I really enjoyed knitting it. It's knit from the bottom up in the round. You start with a lot of full twisted ribbing. So knit one through the back loop, purl one through the back loop. If I were to do this again, I would totally just do half twisted ribbing, and I would highly recommend that for anyone else who wants to knit it as well. So that would be knit one through the back loop and purl. So you're not purling through the back loop. And for me, that really doesn't make a difference in how it looks like in the end, but it does make a significant difference in how fast and fun it is to knit, especially with a yarn like this, which I absolutely adore, don't get me wrong, but it's not one where I can, with the way that I knit, very easily purl one through the back loop. So yeah, I was very glad when I was done with the ribbing. And then in the body, it's, as I said, mostly stockinette in the round, except for when you work the lace panel. It's like a little section of lace that's really intuitive. So once you've gotten the hang of it, you don't even need to consult the pattern anymore. And that way you work your way up to the armholes, at which point you split and you work the back and the front separately flat. And then you split the front again when you come to the neckline, and you work one side of the front and the other side, and the same thing you do for the back. Then there's a 3 needle bind off at the shoulders, picking up stitches for a neckline that I then did in half twisted rib, not full twisted rib. And also you can't see the difference, or I can't. And then just a little bit of finishing work on the armholes, just a round of knitting and then a loose bind off, which I really like. It gives it a nice finished edge, but it also doesn't make the armholes significantly smaller, which was something that I was worried about. If it had been rib, especially twisted rib, which is not as elastic as regular rib, then the fabric would have probably pulled in a lot tighter around the armhole. And that's something that I absolutely don't like tight fabric around the armhole like that. No. Just please don't. So yeah, overall, I was really, really thrilled with the pattern, and I love it. I can see myself wearing this all the time. What else? Oh yeah, I should probably tell you which size. So I knit size 4 out of 6, and I have about 100 centimeter bust circumference. So this is quite generous in terms of ease here at the bust, which is exactly what I wanted. I knit this on a 4 millimeter needle, except for the ribbing, which I did on a 3.5 millimeter needle, and it's knit in Rerum Natura's Antigone, which is a 100% linen, French linen sport weight yarn. I adore this yarn. It's perfect for summer knitwear. I've made a t-shirt earlier this year, the grassland t-shirt, in a lovely rusty red color, and then I went with this deep, almost bluish gray for Piteraq, and the colorway is called Graphite or Graphite. And I love it. I think it looks great. I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it because it works basically with everything. It works with light jeans, dark jeans, black pants. Yeah, basically everything. So very, very happy about this. I'm also really curious about layering this piece. I've been really intrigued by layering knitwear over knitwear lately. And so I think I might have a few cardigans in my future to knit, so that I can layer more of the summer tops and t-shirts that I've knit up this year. So yeah, that is my Piteraq top. Oh, in terms of yarn, I was super surprised how little yarn I used. So size 4, I used 2 and a little bit balls of Antigone. So that's like maybe 225 grams or something. So it's really lightweight. I was expecting to use significantly more, but I didn't. So very, very happy. Like that yarn is just, you don't need a lot of it. Even if, you're knitting, you're not knitting the smallest size, then it's still relatively few skeins that you need to make a top, which I love. So yeah, very happy about that. Piteraq top, Solène le Roux from Breeze, knit in Rerum Natura Antigone in Graphite. Yay! Okay, let me quickly check whether I am in fact actually recording, which I am. This is my perpetual fear. You all know that, right? Like the other one is that the camera doesn't work, but it does, thankfully. Now, let's get into what on my little list that's down there about things that I want to talk about. I have affectionately called the Whips and Shop News section. It's not a very sexy title, but this is what it is, because I have been working on 3 things that I want to share with you. All 3 you haven't seen before. And I'm quite excited about that. And what I'm going to start with in the whip section is my cast on from our very freshly published issue 10. We're in double digits, folks! Yay! So issue 10 is officially out in the world now. I'm not going to be talking about the patterns today because there's a whole separate video where I talk about the patterns and show you the samples and talk about the yarns. I'll link to that in the show notes below. It's out. Get your copy if you haven't gotten it yet from us through your favorite local yarn shop or on Ravelry. And cast on. I have decided to start with a pair of socks. And I think I talked already about this in the last episode, that I decided to start my issue 10 projects with the Crystal Socks by Izabela Grzybek. This is a pair of cuff down socks with this really gorgeous stitch pattern inspired by crystal vases. And originally this was designed for Woollentwine's Corriedale sock yarn. Now, Yule from Woollentwine has put this particular yarn base of hers on hiatus because she just launched a custom spun sock yarn that's called Ovis. Ovis is a blend of 50% Cheviot, 50% Jacob, and I purchased a skein of it in her first shop update with it in the colorway Heather, which is this lovely dusty pink, almost a little bit purple, mauvey kind of thing. And I cast on my crystal socks on Tuesday. So Tuesday was the official launch day. And we celebrated with our monthly knit night from the collective, which was lovely. Like it always warms my heart to see everyone in the knit nights and chat. It's always such a nice hour. And yeah, what better way to celebrate? So I cast this on. I have made like a teeny tiny bit of progress. So I've knit the ribbing and then like maybe 3 or 4 rows of the pattern. And I am contemplating, I'm going to show you the back. The back is stockinette after the ribbing. Can't really see that very well yet. I am contemplating whether or not to rip back at least to the ribbing, decrease to the next smaller size. So I am knitting a size 2, which is knit on 68 stitches. And Izabela recommends no ease instead of the usual negative ease. Like usually in a sock pattern, you would have a recommendation of about 10% of negative ease compared to your foot circumference. So if your foot circumference is 20 centimeters, you would aim for a finished foot circumference of the sock of 20 minus 10%, so 18 centimeters, because you want socks to stretch and stay on your foot, right? And that's when you knit the sock a little bit smaller than your foot is, then the fabric stretches and keeps you really warm. So that's really nice. I am assuming that Izabela recommends no ease because of the stitch pattern, because it is a lot of twisted cabling at the front, and twisted cables aren't as elastic as stockinette. So I think that is possibly why she recommended that, because the cables pull in the fabric and make it so that you don't get the elasticity that you would otherwise have. I think this will be especially tricky around the around the ankle, because that's where you need the most stretch. Like that's where the circumference of your foot is biggest, because the sock has to fit over your heel and ankle. So on the one hand, I want to make sure that the socks, that I will actually be able to wear the socks. On the other hand, I don't like socks that are too big, and I'm a little worried. These look very big to me. Maybe I should knit like a few more rows and see, or maybe just trust my gut. I don't really know. Like I can already see that the stockinette portion of it is significantly bigger than the cable portion. So I know that sort of my hunch on why the recommendation is no ease, I think is pretty correct. But yeah, I don't know yet what to do. I'll contemplate it. I think I might go down to the smaller size, to the size 1. Anyways, I am still very much looking forward to knitting these because I love the pattern, and just from the first few rows of the chart, I was like, okay, this is exactly the type of cabled sock, like a little bit more complicated sock, but not super, super, super complex, that I love knitting. So, yay! And it lives in my super cute Wildwood Stitches project bag. This was a special edition that we did for Wedding Wool Weekend, the yarn festival that I've ended at in Berlin here. And I kept a sock bag for myself, which I'm very happy about. I wanted to talk about one other thing related to issue 10, which is that our knit along has officially started. So if you are knitting something from issue 10, or if you're planning to knit something from issue 10 and you are on Instagram, I would love to invite you to come and join our knit along. All that you have to do is post on your grid a photo of your project, or multiple photos. You can post as much as you like, and use the hashtag #MakingStoriesHeirloomCal. I'll put that in the down bar below as well. Make sure that your account is not set on private, because if it's set on private, then I won't be able to see your posts. And the way that it works is that we're knitting together from, well, the official release date. So September 5th was the start date, to the end of October 31st. And it's really low key and relaxed. WIPs are more than welcome. You don't need to finish anything in those 2 months. It's just a way for us to share projects that we're working on from issue 10. So come join us over there. Every other Monday I will put together a project roundup on Instagram, and then I'll also draw prize winners. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. That was everything about issue 10. And now I'm really, really, really excited to introduce you to a wonderful new, very fluffy yarn that we launched in the shop last week. I've been wanting to stock another fluff yarn for a really, really long time. We used to stock Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair, which is a wonderful yarn, but also basically everyone stocks it now, and it has such a broad color range that I felt either we needed to carry the full color range or it wouldn't make sense for us. And that just felt like a lot, especially as I was not planning on carrying a lot of their other bases. Maybe they're coming back in the future, but it's a really big financial commitment for us. And so I've been looking for sustainably produced fluff yarns for a while now, but they're incredibly hard to come by because fluffy yarns are usually produced by combining mohair from Angora goats with a silk thread. And both of these materials are, in terms of sourcing, not the easiest to source responsibly. With Angora goats, excuse me, with Angora goats, There are a lot of animal welfare concerns because there are quite big Angora goat farms, and the animals aren't treated super well. And so, that is, one of the problems when sourcing mohair is like there's lots of mohair, but the question is, where does it come from? How is it processed? How are the animals treated? And kind of the same thing goes for silk. Silk, as you know, traditionally is harvested from silk cocoons while the moths are still alive, the moths who've spun the cocoon. So they die in the process. And that can be avoided by working with something that's called piece silk, which is when the moths have already hatched and the silk cocoons broken out of their cocoons, and the silk cocoons are then processed into silk yarn. So that's one way to avoid it. But that's also been really, really, really difficult because the amount of piece silk that is available is not enough for to my knowledge, only mill in the entire world who does that type of fluff yarn with piece silk, for them to still do it. So, I was like, okay, mohair is complicated to source in a responsible way. Silk is complicated to source in a responsible way. I started looking at suri, so alpaca fluff and stuff, but never really got anywhere. And then an email fluttered into my inbox by the wonderful folks from Rerum Natura, one of my all-time favorite yarn companies, as you know, from France. And Solène, the owner, introduced Bérénice. They have been on the same quest for the past few years, trying to figure out how to create a sustainably produced, responsibly sourced fluff yarn that also cuts down on the carbon footprint, because a lot of the materials are have to come from all over the world. Like, there's no silk being produced, for example, in Europe. And I am really, really, really happy that they went through this entire process, because I feel extremely comfortable carrying this yarn and introducing it to you, because I know that as far as fluff yarns go, this is the most responsible, sustainably produced yarn that you can get. And yeah, I am really, really happy about that. So, Bérénice is, and that's sort of directly leading on from the production chat that we just had. Bérénice is a blend of 55% super kit mohair, 25% silk, and 20% wool, which is also something that I haven't seen in a fluff yarn. And we're going to talk about why there's wool in here in a second. It doesn't look that different than other silk mohair yarns that you might know. Hello, camera, please focus. So it has a core thread, which is the silk yarn, and around it is this fluff that is made of the merino and mohair fibers. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the materials that are in here. Let's talk about the silk first. As I said, no way to produce this type of yarn with piece silk at the moment. So the silk that they're sourcing, it comes from China, but is as responsibly sourced as possible. And as there is no way around silk in a yarn like this, I think they did their very best with that. They also paid particular attention to making the other two fibers, or the rest of the yarn, even more sustainable than they could have gone. So the 55% super kit mohair, so first, super kit mohair is the really, just need to quickly go to my laptop because I couldn't see myself anymore. Anyways, Super Kit Mohair is the really fine, very soft mohair, the very soft fibers from Angora goats, from like small Angora goats. This is RMS certified mohair. So RMS is Responsible Mohair Standard, and that is the highest standard that you can get for mohair farming and production. So if you want to go with mohair, RMS certified is the most sustainable way to do it, which they did. So yay, 2 thumbs up for that. What I am incredibly excited about is the 20% wool in this, because I didn't know that this was possible. I thought you needed the mohair, like you could only do this type of yarn production. This is not traditionally spun. This is kind of like blown, and I thought you could only do that with mohair. But apparently you can also blend the mohair with wool. And what Rerum Natura did is they took 20% of this yarn and fed the 20% essentially. Well, no, like 20% of the yarn is merino d'Arles from the Provence in France. So the merino that goes into the bases that I love so much, Ulysse and Juliette, which is local to them. It's grown in France, it's organic, and it's a beautiful subbreed essentially of merino that only lives in France, merino d'Arles. And they took those fleeces, blended them with a mohair, and then had them spun up into this yarn. And this is fantastic because it cuts down significantly on the environmental footprint, because you're reducing the amount of mohair that you have to source from somewhere else. And we're going to talk about where it's produced in a second. And you can, and they're also supporting their local economy and local community with this. The mohair, I should say, the mohair is sourced from South Africa, which is, in terms of carbon footprint, the closest that you can get RMS certified mohair. It was really sweet. In the email, Solène shared that she's been trying to get French mohair, because there are Angora goats in France, but hasn't been able to buy one from the cooperatives or buy mohair, French mohair from cooperatives that work in France, or that produce mohair in France. So yeah, maybe coming in the future, I don't know. But so this is why they also chose to go the route with sort of blending the mohair with some of their local merino, so that they could reduce the carbon footprint of this yarn. And the result is stunning. It's really beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it comes in a rainbow range of colors. I am going to show them to you really quickly. I'm going to take my big bowl of yarn, get a little bit closer to the camera, and in no particular order, I'm going to introduce you to the colorways. This yarn, by the way, is excellent for holding with Ulysse or Juliette, both of which we carry, both of which we have a big restock. So some of the colors you might know or remember from Ulysse or Juliette, and yeah, it's really great. So it works really well as, you know, if you wanna create like a fluffier fabric. Okay, so this one is Sage. This lovely light green, minty green. Then we have Cyprès, which is this tealy green. We have Brume, which is, I think this is like a lake blue. To me, this looks like a lake. Tutu, a lovely colder light pink. This would look great with quartz. We have Petit Matin, a very cool light blue with a grayish undertone. Crépuscule, which is a lovely stone gray. Chocolat chaud, which is this really creamy, delightfully, chocolatey, like chocolate with a little bit of whipped cream on top. Brown. Doré, a beautiful golden yellow. Confiture de rose, a punchy fuchsia, almost magenta, pink. Fusain, a very dark gray. Goland, a light gray. Avoine, which is a creamy white with a slight hint of pink. Caramel, beautiful caramelly brown, very warm. Belle Étoile, a delightful midnight blue. Orgea, a white. Oursin, a lovely purple, which, by the way, works really great with a couple of new shades that we have of Ulyss, and I think I only ordered them in Ulyss. So we have 2 new purple shades of Ulyss, Fig and Aster, which would be great with this color. And Badiane, which is this really delightful rusty red. So these are the colors of Bérénice, which I think are all stunning. They work really well held together with their other yarns or held on their own, or what I'm about to show you, which is holding 2 strands of Bérénice together, because I mean, obviously I couldn't resist to cast something on, right? And I decided to cast on a Theophrastus tee, which I completely forgot to bring my copy of issue 9, but I'm going to insert a picture here so that you know which t-shirt I'm talking about. And I am knitting mine in these 2 colors. This is Badiane and this is Avoine. So this rusty red held together with this creamy, slightly pink white. This is my swatch. So for Theophrastus, you hold 2 strands of mohair together, and then it has these cute little ruffles, which you only work in 1 strand. So you have 2 different colored ruffles at the end. And I think this is so cute. It's going to be really marled, and I'm really excited about it. I love the colors, and I love how they blend together. Yeah, very excited about it. I haven't made a lot of progress, mostly because I was working a lot on this because I wanted to get that done. And then I was also working on something else that I'm going to show you in a second. But I finished the neckband, and I am just about to place, oops, what is happening here with I think my cable somehow twisted. I am just about to place the raglan markers, all right. And so yeah, I'm knitting this on quite large needles, 4.5 millimeters, which I am really excited about. It's a little bit of a gamble because I swatched with 4 millimeter needles, and I felt the fabric was a little bit too light, so I just went up a size and was like, okay, it's gonna be fine. I'm knitting a size 4, yeah, and that's hopefully gonna be really fun to knit. So Bérénice is available now in our web shop. We have all of these colors in stock. As I said, Ulyss and Juliet are also restocked, so hop on over there, get some fluff yarn in your life. Alrighty, the last work in progress that I want to share with you today is my self-striping socks that I started working on. In the last podcast episode, I showed you a sock set that we're going to have as part of our Socktober celebration. On October 1st, we're going to have a big sock shop update with 2 different self-striping yarn sets, naturally dyed by woolmatters, and there's going to be lots of fun little notions that have to do with socks, and hopefully 1 or 2 more sock yarns. We're also opening our sock subscriptions again on October 1st, so it's all things socks. Mark your calendars, October 1st. Now, I am so excited about these, and I may have or may have not just possibly knit almost an entire sock. So, aren't they great? I am so thrilled with these. This colorway doesn't have a name yet, but I have never knit with self-striping sock yarn before. I am always very, very, very enviously looking at everyone who knits self-striping socks, and I'm like, oh, I wish there was a non-superwash, plastic-free self-striping sock yarn, and there wasn't until Alice made one. Alice from woolmatters. So I am so thrilled about these. I am knitting a toe-up Afterthought Heel Sock, so as to show off the stripes as best as I can, and the toe, and then later the cuff and the heel will be in the contrasting menu, which for this colorway is this lovely warm brown. And then we have these delightful stripes, so rusty orange, sage green, golden yellow, white, and caramel, and they just look so good. Like, can you believe it? I think it's just stunning. Now, yeah. Votes up on whether or not I'm gonna leave the tiny little half stripe here. What do you think? Should I leave it, or should I cut it out and Kitchener the toe to the, like, graft the toe? Not Kitchener, we're not using Kitchener anymore. But graft the toe to the orange. Yeah. Do let me know what you think. I actually quite like it. At first I wasn't sure, but I think it's cute. I just didn't want to waste a single bit of this incredibly amazing and super labor intensive yarn. Like, oh my god. I mean, self-striping yarn in itself is a super mathematical exercise, but then also naturally dyeing it in all of these amazing different colors is just beyond anything. And yeah, I am so thrilled about this. So this is one of the sock sets that we'll have in the shop on October 1st. And I am going to reveal the second one in the next podcast episode. So you'll just have to wait a little bit for that. But I love these so, so much. Oh, I should also probably tell you what kind of yarn this is. So this is a 100% Corriedale sock yarn with a really high twist. So a really, really good yarn to knit socks with. And yeah, they're gonna be really, really sturdy. I'm knitting mine on 2mm mini circulars, which is super fun because you just want to get to the next row. I think I'm going to do one. So I have one more stripe left to complete a full repeat, and then I'm gonna do one more repeat of the 5 stripes, and then the cuff, I think. That feels nice. So yeah. Yay! Okay. The last section is just a little bit of sort of additional shop news. And I just remembered that I have not told you yet that our issue 10 yarn kits are also now available, which I'm really excited about. So we have 2 kits. One is for Old Love, which is the sweater my mom is wearing on the cover. Let me just quickly find one more. It's this one, Old Love. So we have sweater kits in the original colorways, and then in blues and in light neutrals. check out the sample video for that, or directly head over to the kit listing. You can see swatches that I knit up in those there. And the second one that we have is Muscadine, which is this beautiful cropped raglan sweater with this really nice cable detail down the sleeve. You can see that here. So that's really nice. So yeah. My laptop just shut down again. So yeah, that is that. And last but not least, we also are officially now carrying, oops, the book that I just dropped. Good thing that was my copy. Yeah. So don't worry if you order this book, you're not going to get this copy because that is mine. But yeah, great. Karen Templer's first book is out. Seasonless Patterns for Life. I do keep calling it patternless. I don't know why. Seasonless is a beautiful book filled. It's a hardcover book printed by Amiri Sue on really beautiful paper. It just feels very nice. And it has, let me show you an overview. Is there an overview? Okay. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. So you can make all of these things with this book, which I think is fantastic. So there's five different items. There's fingerless mittens, a hat, a vest / slip over, a pullover, and a cardigan. And lots of different ways to play with texture and color and make it fit exactly the way that you want it to fit. So I am really excited that we're stocking this. I do want to dabble a little bit more into books that are published by other publishers. So if there's something in particular that you would like us to carry, do let me know, right? And yeah, so this is out now and you can get it through us. That's it from me for today, lovelies. This was so much fun. I know it was a lot, but I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, do let me know if you're joining us for the issue 10 count and whether or not you're as excited as I am about this new fluff yarn that we have in stock, which also I dropped. Clearly it seems to be the season of dropping things. Oops. Is that a good or bad omen now? What's the third thing that I'm going to drop? Hopefully not the camera. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you are all well, and I hope you're joining me again in 2 weeks for the next podcast episode. In the meantime, give this episode a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and share it with a friend or two who you think might enjoy it, because that really helps us with visibility here on YouTube. Thank you so much. See you again very soon. Bye.